Hey there, everybody. This is Gary from Constricted and Addicted. Today, we're going to talk about understanding your retics behavior. Stick around. You're not going to want to miss this. Retics are extremely amazing animals. They truly are, to me, one of the best reptiles to keep, but they can be tricky. They can be definitely tricky when they're inside their homes and you want to get them out. Sometimes we can mistake their behavior for a food response, and other times we can mistake their behavior for curiosity and it's actually a food response. So getting them out is really up to us to understand how well we know our retics behavior. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to kind of demonstrate with Emma. I've got another girl over here. She's off camera, Deja. She has struck at me both times I've walked by her enclosure. So she's in a food response. She's in a total food response. And when things like that happen, young keepers, newer keepers, they may tend to be a little bit afraid of having that happen because, oh my gosh, you've got a snake jumping at the cage. What's it going to do if I open it up? Is it going to bite me? All these things can go through their heads, and what would really happen in the end is the neglect of that animal. So what I really want to do here is kind of help everybody to understand, if you're new to retics, why does my animal strike at the glass? Or when I open up the glass, why does it come at me like a ton of bricks? These are just typical retic behaviors, and you have to learn how to navigate them. So this may not be the best example right here, but Emma is also in shed, so she may not come out. As docile as this animal is, sometimes she comes out like a ton of bricks. She really does. So we're going to open up the enclosure and see what happens. See, typical movement in her enclosure might pique her curiosity and get her involved in what's going on, but she's actually, I see her and she's not really doing anything. So let's go down to Georgia and see what Georgia does. All right, so now we're in front of Georgia's enclosure. Georgia is right here. She's very curious on what's happening. I know her behaviors, but even though I know her behaviors, the one thing I would never do is just stick my hand inside her enclosure. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna open it up. The trick is, right, like I already had her out earlier, so I know she's not in the food response, but she should still respond the same way. So as soon as I take this lock off, she's probably gonna come barreling towards the front, which here she comes. As you can see, there she is. And like I said, her food response has been turned off. But she's very curious when it comes to opening up the enclosure and getting her out. I'm gonna go ahead and get her out like I typically would in this fashion. I don't know if you can see, she's coming towards me right now, but I know because of her behaviors, see, she's coming right at me. How you doing, baby girl? How are you doing? She's got these nice long tongue flicks. I'm gonna turn this a little bit so kind of see what's going on. Hey, baby girl. Hey. She's got these really nice tongue flicks. She's coming up. She's actually out a pretty good size, a pretty good length towards me right now. I'm going to go ahead and lower this a little bit. Hi, girly girl. How are you, huh? So as you can see, I knew that she wasn't in a food response. I don't recommend that because obviously she's very, very food driven. Retics are very food driven, but I handle this animal all the time, so I know what to look out for. But as you can see, she came out in a sense, the tongue flicks were pretty prominent. So this girl is definitely, she's not looking at me in a food response mode. She's more looking at me in a curious response mode. Now this girl here, she has struck at the enclosure 2 times now since I've walked by. She's in a food response, but she's probably at this point now, she's probably desensitized because I'm standing in front of her now. She's pretty much mellowed out, but this animal can definitely give somebody like a fear of wanting to go in there right now because of what she's done. It's just really understanding your Retics behavior and knowing that she's not doing that because she's mad at me. She's doing that because she thinks there's food out here. So we're going to get her out real quick. Now you see how she perked up. She was like, what is going on out here? And I will always use a hook with her. And what I do is I just rub it like this. So this girl now knows that I am coming in. So I can go ahead and get her out pretty much without issue. So owning these animals can be a little bit tricky. Not many snakes will lunge at the glass when you walk by. And when we lunge at the glass, it's got nothing to do with this animal wants to take my head off. It wants to eat me. It hates my guts. It's because it really only understands food. It's up to us to make the animal understand that that's not what's happening. You're coming out to be handled. You're not coming out to be fed. That's why we use hooks. The hook will definitely let the animal know that it's not feeding time and that it's time to come out and it's time to enjoy the enrichment of being handled by your owner. I handle my Retics all the time, so it doesn't really matter how much I handle them. Some of them will always have a food response. Doesn't matter. Emma, on the other hand, I can open up the enclosure on her. Usually I can pet her right on the largest part of her body. I don't typically need a hook with her, and it's because I understand her and I've been working with her for a very, very long time. I have been working with this girl for about 9 months, and she's going to be a year old at the end of this month, February 21st. She will be 1 year old. But sometimes it doesn't matter how long we've been working with these animals. Sometimes they just associate opening up that enclosure, walking by the enclosure, they associate it with food. One of the other things that we may have an issue with is putting them back. Because once they're out, like, they want to be out. They want to explore. They're curious. They want to see what's around them. They're inquisitive. And next thing you know, we got to put them back. Some of these animals, I believe they know when I'm going to put them back. They automatically start coming towards me rather than going out because they know that going back into the enclosure is what's coming up. So we're going to show you I'm going to show you what I do with most of my animals when it's time to put them back. So she's already knowing and what I'm going to do. Sometimes I have to spin around and just kind of disorientate her. And then as soon as she gets her head in there, she's usually pretty good. All right, so I figured I would finish up in this room right here. Whether Cora here has a feeding response or not, she's usually the one after feeding that just comes at the glass. Her jaws are wide open. She drags her jaws along the glass. To me, it's kind of a funny thing. I don't like to see her do it, but I know that when she's doing that, she's looking for food. That's all it is. And again, it could still give you that rush of, oh my God, should I go in and get that animal? Is it going to bite me? And newer owners definitely could have a negative experience from that incident and neglect the animal. And then what you have is basically a neglected retic who doesn't get handled. And that's, again, this is why I'm going ahead and I'm doing this video. I want to thank Marissa at MC Scales and Tails for giving me the idea to do this video. and showing people that, you know, we got to walk through those fears to build a relationship with these animals. So I'm going to get her out real quick and see what happens. Probably going to move the camera a little bit. So as you can see, Cora is pretty much just kind of sitting there. She's just waiting. And I know right now that she's probably pretty good because she's not doing anything that is showing a food response at this point. So we're going to open this up. Come on, girlie. You want to come out? Like they respond like cats and dogs. You want to come out? Huh? Come on, girly girl. Do you want to come out? She's like, no, I don't want to come out. Just to give you an idea what I'm looking at. She's pretty content, so we're going to leave her that way. There's no sense in doing something for her or having her do something that she doesn't want to do. And that's another thing about the behaviors of our retics, is that listening to their behaviors. She obviously has no response with me opening up this enclosure. So she's probably at a point where she's like, you know what? I don't want to be messed with, and I've got to respect that. I'm glad we kept the camera rolling on that one. This girl right here definitely has a pretty motivated food response. And if you saw when I opened up that enclosure, she came flying out, which that's what I was looking for. And as you can see, I got her right out. The only thing on this animal's mind was food. She was looking to get fed. And all she had to do was learn that it wasn't feeding time. I went in there, I rubbed her with the hook, and I got her right out. And if you can get past that, you can enjoy the beauty and the amazing, company of these beautiful, beautiful animals. So now I hope you enjoyed that, and we'll see you on the next one.